Hare Rama, Rama Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Jaya Radha, Hare Radha, Hare Radha. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Prabhupada. All glory to Sama Devotee. All glory to Sama. All glory to Sama Devotee. All glory to Sri Guru, Sri Garanga. All glory to Sama Devotee. Can you pass me a water bottle? I'm afraid if I go too far off. So we'll start off reading by Srila Prabhupada, reading Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita, which is the biography of our founder Acharya. And when we read Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita, we can really get the mood of Srila Prabhupada and what he wanted from ISKCON. It's very inspiring and it's very sweet. And I listen to a lot of Urmila Manaji's classes, and she says that not only should we read Srila Prabhupada's books that he wrote, but we should also read his room conversations, his letters, and also Prabhupada Lilamrita, and hear from devotees that were there, because they all have different flavors and different parts of Srila Prabhupada's personality. Because the things that he wrote and things like Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, these are considered the law books for the next 10,000 years. But in different time, places and circumstances, he also said different things depending on the situation. So it's also really nice to be able to read those things and see his mood. Okay, so this is the chapter, How Shall I Serve You? Sit out. Okay. Abai wanted help. As a fellow godbrother in the service of his spiritual master, he offered them his services. Although the sannyasis, they were superior in number, in their somewhat helpless condition, they looked up to Abai for help. They had been staying in a small place on Proctor Road, and he had found a little opportunity to make important contacts. Now they formed a team. Abai introduced the sannyasis to business acquaintances. Push my cheek closer. Okay. Abai introduced the sannyasis to business acquaintances, and the sannyasis taking donations for the new centre. Abai Charanarinda was good at collecting funds, and he willingly gave his time. Again, his godbrothers began pulling at him to participate fully in the Gaudiya Mat preaching. Srila Prabhupada. We made a party for collecting alms. Sridhar Maharaj, Goswami Maharaj, and myself. I took them to some of my chemist and doctor friends, and in 2 days we collected 500 rupees. Sridhar Maharaj would speak, I would introduce, and Goswami Maharaj would canvass. So Goswami Maharaj very much appreciated, and he began to speak highly of me. For a Babu, he is so expert. He has so many friends and he has collected so much. Why should he not be in charge of our mat? Why shouldn't he live with us? Why is he living separately? Abai visited the mat on Proctor Road, where he joined the devotees in Kirtan and heard them speak from Bhagavatam. At the sannyasis' request, Abai took on the responsibility of finding a more suitable place for the Bombay Centre. Whenever he went to the city, he looked for likely locations. Just as he had responsibilities for his wife and family in Allahabad, by dint of his initiation, he was responsibly bound to assist his godbrother. He had to take part in the preaching, not simply struggle so that he might exist in the world as business competition. But he didn't think he could ever live like the sannyasis, no possessions, no business, sleeping on the bare floor, taking only simple meals. February 25th, 1935. It was the 62nd birthday of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. At Jagannath Puri, where Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati was residing, the devotees observed the day with ceremony. At the small Bombay Centre, a few disciples planned an evening of observance and invited local people. For the occasion, Abai wrote a poem. Adore ye all the happy day, blessed than heaven, sweeter than May. When he appeared at Puri, the holy place, my Lord, my Master, his divine grace. O my Master, evangelic angel, give us thy light, light up thy candle, struggle for existence, the human race, the only hope, his divine grace. Misled we are, all going astray. Save us, Lord, our fervent prayer, wander thy ways. To turn our face, adore thy feet, your divine grace. Absolute sentient thou hast proved, in personal calamity thou hast moved. This gives us a life, anew and fresh, worship thy feet, your divine grace. Forgotten Krishna, we fallen souls, praying most heavy, the illusions told, darkness around, all untraced. The only hope is divine grace. Had you not come, who had told the message of Krishna, forceful and bold? That's your right, you have the mace. Save me, fallen, your divine grace. Message of service thou hast brought, a healthful life as Chaitanya wrought. Unknown to all, it's full of grace. That's your gift, your divine grace. The line of services drawn by you is pleasing and healthy, like morning dew, the eldest of all, but in new dress, miracle done, the divine grace. Abai also composed a speech, which he read before the assembled guests and members of the Gaudiya Mat. Although his first language was Bengali, his English was clear and natural. Gentlemen, the offering of such a homage as has been arranged this evening by the Acharya Devi is not a sectarian concern. Because when we speak of the fundamental principles of Gurudev or Acharya Dev, we speak of something that is of a universal application. There does not arise any question of discrimination by Guru from that of yours or anyone else's. There is only one Guru who appears in an infinity of forms to teach you, me, and all others. The Guru or Acharya, as we learn from the bona fide scriptures, delivers the message of the absolute world. I mean, the transcendental abode of the absolute personality, where everything non-differentiatingly serves the absolute truth. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from 4th Canto, Chapter 19, text 13. Atrina chodito hantam Ritu putra maharataha Anvatavatasam putas Tishta tishteti kam Pracham pravit Atrina chodito hantam Ritu putra maharataha Anvatavatasam Prasam krudas Tishta tishteti chabravit Atrina chodito hantam Pritu putro maharataha Anvatavata sankrutas Tishta tishteti chabravit Atrina, by the great sage Atri. Chodata, being encouraged. Hantam, to kill. Pritu Putra, the son of King Prithu. Maharata, a great hero. Anvadavata, followed. Sankrudha, being very angry. Tishta, Tishta, just wait, just wait. Iti, but, cha, also. Abravit, he said. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki. When the son of King Prithu was informed by Atri of King Indra's trick, he immediately became very angry and followed Indra to kill him, calling, "Wait, wait." The words tishta tishta are used by a Kshatriya when he challenges his enemy. When fighting, a Kshatriya cannot flee from the battlefield. However, when a Kshatriya, out of cowardness, flees from the battlefield, showing his back to his enemy, he is challenged with the words tishta tishta. A real Kshatriya does not kill his enemy from behind, nor does a real Kshatriya turn his back on the battlefield. According to Kshatriya principles and spirit, one either attains victory or dies on the battlefield. Although King Indra was very exalted, being the king of heaven, he became degraded due to his stealing the horse intended for sacrifice. Therefore, he fled without observing the Kshatriya principles, and the son of Prithu had to challenge him with the words tishta tishta. Om Gyanam Timarandasya Gananjala Shalakya Chakshu Umalitamena Tasma Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance. My spiritual masters opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I asked my steps of baptism for lotus feet. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shri Vasari Gaura Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So in this text and purport, we're hearing a little bit about the Kshatriya spirit. So this Kshatriya spirit, or the Kshatriya principles, one shouldn't turn his back on actually any kind of challenge. So we hear about this all throughout Srila Prabhupada's books. In Bhagavad Gita, we hear Arjuna, Krishna is telling Arjuna that, for a Kshatriya, dishonor is worse than death. And actually, if one is fighting on the battlefield, then one will either attain victory or the heavenly planet. So Kshatriya has to keep fighting. And also in the Mahabharata, we hear about how when Yudhisthira was challenged, so not only in a fight, but also a gambling match. So Yudhisthira, this is the most intense part of the Mahabharata for myself when I'm reading it. It's like a real cliffhanger. So Yudhisthira has been challenged to this gambling match, and the stakes are getting higher and higher. He's gambling his wealth. He's even gambling his brothers, and then when it comes to the time he's actually gambling his wife Draupadi, then I was reading it and I was just on the edge of, when you can predict what's going to happen and you're just like, no, don't do it. It's just so it's a very intense part of the Mahabharata. But he couldn't back down because he was challenged. And this is the principle of the Kshatriya, they don't back down. They don't back away from a challenge or a fight. Sorry? Kshatriya. So there's 4 different divisions in society. The Kshatriyas are the kings or the warrior class, those who maintain and look after the citizens. So the Brahmanas are very peaceful. They're looking after the spiritual welfare of society, and they're also guiding the Kshatriyas who are managing the country. This is the way ideal society should be placed. Those managing the country are guided by spiritual principles given by the Brahmanas. And throughout Krishna book, we hear various stories as well. I was reading Krishna book the other day, so Balaram is also the Kshatriya. So there's a very interesting story of Aniruddha and Rochana, their marriage ceremony. And so Krishna and Balaram, they've gone to the marriage ceremony of Krishna's grandson. And Balaram, he was challenged to a dice match by a person called the King of Kalinga. He wanted to stir up some trouble, and he knew that Balaram was so good at playing dice. So he encouraged Rukmi, who was Krishna's brother-in-law. He encouraged him to challenge Balaram to this dice match. So they were playing dice, and first of all they were, betting 100 gold coins, and Balaram would lose, and the king of Kalinga, he would like, ha, ha, ha. He would show his teeth, ha, ha, ha. And to be laughed at, the Kshatriya spirit, you know, it's like, no. So the stakes were going up again. So it was 100 gold coins, then it was 1,000 gold coins, and then it was 10,000 gold coins. King of Kalinga kept laughing. Balaram kept losing. And then actually it got to 100,000 gold coins, and Balaram actually won. But because of some tricks, then they declared that Balaram didn't actually win. And by this time, Balaram was really angry. You know, he'd lost, he'd been laughed at, and now he was being cheated. So then he bet 100 million gold coins. And the king of Kalinga and Rukmi, they were even insulting him while they were doing this. They were like, oh, you know, you're just a cowherd boy. What do you know about Kshatriya society and how to play these games, what to do? So Balaram was really angry. So he played 100 million gold coins, and he actually won. But again, they were trying to cheat him by saying he didn't win by various ways. And then there was actually a voice from the sky said, no, Balaram did win. And still they were trying to cheat him. So Balaram, he just picked up his club and he killed his brother-in-law. And the king of Kalinga, who had been showing his teeth, he was like, whoa, he just killed Rukmi. I better get out of here quickly. So he took like 2 steps, and Balaram hit him in the face, and he smashed those teeth that were being looked at him the whole time. So he had to eat soup the rest of his life. So this is and Prabhupada said in the Krishna book, he was like, this is not uncommon to happen at Kshatriya weddings. Like, well, yeah, we have very peaceful weddings in New Zealand. There's generally no killing of in-laws, but yeah. And then when I was reading this story, I was also thinking of a very, very famous story in the Krishna book, which is Krishna the Rancha. So Rancha means the one who flees the battlefield. So to flee the battlefield is very embarrassing for a Kshatriya. To run from battle, it's like the worst thing you can do. And Krishna says this in Bhagavad Gita again and again. Yeah, dishonor is worse than death. So there was a time, so Krishna had just killed Kamsa in Mathura, and Kamsa had 2 wives. So without the protection of their husband, they didn't have any sons to take care of them. So they went back to their father, who was Jarasandha. And they went to Jarasandha and said, you know, we're in this position, we've lost our husband, Krishna has killed our husband. So Jarasandha was really angry, and he wanted revenge on the Yadu dynasty. So he went to Mathura, planning to annihilate the Yadu dynasty. And Krishna could see this was about to happen. And Krishna, even just by his desire, he can just annihilate anything. So he doesn't actually have to fight. But because he was playing this role, he thought, yes, I'll fight. And he could have annihilated the whole of Jarasandha's army all in one go, and Jarasandha as well. But he thought, one of the reasons that I've come is to rid the earth of the Kshatriyas, the warrior class, that are not acting according to religious principles. So I'll take this opportunity to annihilate as many of them as I can. So Jarasandha came with his army, and again, he came with insulting words just to really get this fighting spirit up. He wanted a good fight, so he didn't just go in there. He went in there all proud and started saying all these speeches about why, you know, he started insulting Krishna, saying, you are a killer of your family members. But actually, when we look at Jarasandha, he killed babies. He killed his sister's children. So how can he insult Krishna for killing a demon when he himself was killing so many innocent children? He was saying, you are hidden. Actually, I shouldn't even fight with you. You're not a Kshatriya. You're just a cowherd boy. What would you know? He was insulting Krishna in many ways. And then they started to fight. And actually Krishna, he annihilated all of Jarasandha's army, but he left Jarasandha there just to feel insulted. And yeah, he could have killed him easily. And there's a very amazing description in Krishna book of the battlefield. So after this huge battle, There were dead bodies everywhere, rivers of blood, and all the jewels from the Kshatriyas were just floating in rivers of blood, and body parts of people and animals and stuff. And Prabhupada says that for those weak in heart, this is a very scary image, but for those great heroes, in other words, the Kshatriyas, and they love to hear about these details. We can read all these details in Krishna book. So Jarasandha was embarrassed. He had been defeated really badly. So he started to walk away from this devastating scene. He decided, he would just go away. But as he was going away, some friends of his came and they gave him some bad advice. And said, you should have won that battle. You easily could have won that battle, but it was just some trick of chance, some trick of destiny. You should go back, regroup your troops, and go back again. So he became convinced by them, and he went away and he regrouped a whole other army, and he came back. And again, Krishna demolished, killed them all, just left Jarasandha. And this happened 17 times. He would be defeated, he'd go away, he'd come back. Be defeated, he'd go away, he'd come back. And then just when Krishna, he was in Mathura with his family, then Jarasandha was about to attack again, but from the other side he heard that actually, they said Kalyavan? Kalyavan. Encouraged by Narada Muni, Kalyavan had come to attack again from another side. So he had, the Yadus were being attacked from both sides. So it says that Krishna, decided to end this. So he walked towards Kalyavana without even any weapons or shoes. He just started to walk past him, and Kalyavana was like, what? But he also had the Kshatriya spirit, so he didn't think, I'll just kill Krishna quickly now. He also laid down his weapons because he wanted a fair fight. And he started to follow Krishna, and Krishna started running. Kalyavana was running after him. But however far Krishna was in front of him, Kalyavana just couldn't reach. So he was going and going and going. And then Krishna led him into a cave, where we know that Muchakunda was in a cave, and he had a benediction given by the demigods that whoever would wake him, he could be burned to ashes with their eyes. So Krishna ran into the cave and he hid. Kalyavana ran in, didn't know that this king was lying asleep on the floor, and he kicked him with his foot. And Muchakunda woke up and saw someone there, and he just burned him to death with his eyes. So just like that, by Krishna's desire, Kalyavana was burned to ashes. And then there's a beautiful, Kalyavana offers beautiful prayers, and Krishna decides to go back to save the rest of the Yadu dynasty. So he's going back. This is when Jarasandha is attacking for the 18th time. That's 17 battles he's lost. He's there for the 18th time. But in Krishna has many opulences, and one of them is renunciation. So even though he could have easily killed Jarasandha's army again, he had something better to do, because actually a letter had come from Rukmini. This is a whole other story. This is one of my favorite stories. It's a very beautiful romantic story where Krishna is going to rescue Rukmini from a certain fate of an ill marriage. So he knew that this pastime with Rukmini was going to start. So he decided, I'm just going to leave Jarasandha. I don't need to bother with that. So Jarasandha was attacking again, and Krishna just ran from the battlefield. And this is where he gets his name, Krishna Rancha. Especially in Gujarat, there are many temples of Ranchaji Krishna. So he fled the battlefield, and Jarasandha was running after him. And he had the audacity to say, you're afraid, you're weak, even though he just demolished his army so many times. And Krishna and Balaram, they ran up a mountain. In Krishna book, Prabhupada says that Krishna and Balaram were tired, so they decided to run up a mountain. I was like, wow, if I'm tired, I would just hide in a bush or something. But Krishna and Balaram, they ran up a mountain. Jarasandha saw them going up, and so he set a fire around the bottom of the mountain. trapping them. So the whole fire was going up the mountain. And he thought a certain death to them, they can't escape. But of course, Krishna and Balaram from the top of the mountain, they just jumped down and went off. And then there's a later pastime, how Jarasandha is later killed. That's another pastime. So this is the Kshatriya fighting spirit. And actually King Indra, he's another king. So this is his dharma as well. So definitely not flee from any challenge, any fight. But here in the purport, Srila Prabhupada says that the exalted King Indra became degraded. So Indra, although he had so much, he's like the king of heaven. You can't, it's a really massive position, a lot of power, a lot of opulence. He became afraid and jealous because King Prithu was going to do 100 horse sacrifices. And this is what Indra had done. He'd already done 100 horse sacrifices. And he was very afraid that he would be outdone, that King Prithu would do more than him, would do more than 100 horse sacrifices. And so he became envious and he became degraded. And he embarrassed himself by showing this envy and disguising himself as a brahmana or a sadhu and trying to steal the horse. He's just trying to stop somebody doing better than him. So this is a very embarrassing thing that everyone in their heart in the material world has to a certain degree. And when somebody has something that we want or we feel that they're doing better than us, it's very painful for us to see that person in the conditioned mentality and be happy for them, to help them, to glorify what they have. The nature can be like, oh, I want that prestige for myself, or I want to see, I want what they have. And this actually blinds us to what we have. And if we can't see this within ourselves and check that mentality, then we can also become degraded and embarrassed, and we can offend the bodies. Urmila, who I listen to a lot, he says, if we have some anatta, we're chanting properly, then super soul in the heart may try to guide us, may hint at us that we have some issue. And then, if we're not hearing, then we may come across it in a purport. Something may come up again and again when we're reading. Take note, we should work on that issue. And then again, if we're not hearing, then maybe a good friend will say, maybe there's this issue. And if we're still not listening, then Krishna's voice can get louder and louder. Maybe we're publicly embarrassed. It becomes such a big thing that everyone apart from us can see, and Krishna's voice has to get louder and louder. So yeah, we should really try and see these things and act on them when they're small rather than becoming big. And we should be able to hear from our friends. We should always have friends that can guide us to overcome these things, because we all have them. And when you hear in the Bhagavatam, it's not like there's a straight line of devotional service and there's no ups and downs and bumpy roads. All these pastimes, people are being put back on track. Just get back on track. So we all have these ups and downs, and this is when we're hearing these pastimes in the Bhagavatam by these great devotees. Indra is a great devotee. And we can take guidance from these. So I was thinking about this envy, and Jaishila Prabhu in his class the other day, he was talking about this fear of losing this position can be a very big thing. And I was thinking how this envy, it also comes because, like I say, it blinds us to what we actually have. Indra, he was the king of heaven. He had so much wealth that instead of being grateful for what he had, he was just looking at what he didn't have or what he might lose. So I was thinking how one way to overcome this envy is to actually look at what we have and be grateful for that. And this gratitude is actually, in Nectar of Devotion, it's described one of Krishna's qualities is this gratitude. And yeah, in Kadamba Kannan Maharaj's final message, I hope everyone heard that. It's just a very short 15-minute video clip. When he knew that his time was coming close to leave the world, he left. He left a very beautiful 15-minute talk, and in there he was going to say how we have this greatest wealth, this greatest treasure, and to value that. Yeah, so we have to look at what we actually have, because we all have so much, and Krishna has given us so much, and we should be grateful for that. And if we're ungrateful, we can imagine how that feels on the other side. You know, if our significant other comes home, we've made a big effort with something, and they don't even see that. They just start saying, "Oh, such and such has this, such and such has that." You know, we're trying to please so much, and it's not noticed. So to be ungrateful for what we have is not a nice quality. We should also always be grateful for what we have, especially for what Srila Prabhupada has given us, actually. And when we have this this attitude of being grateful, yeah, I was thinking about this. I had like a 20-second thought train in Japa the other day, because I was thinking about being grateful. And I was thinking, what am I grateful for in Krishna consciousness? And I've been reading a lot of Chaitanya Charitamrita recently with friends on the phone. We have the read together. It's very sweet. There's a lot of beautiful, sweet pastimes in Chaitanya Charitamrita. And I thought, yeah, I'm really grateful for Chaitanya Charitamrita. And just that feeling of gratitude made me want to share it with people. You know, I read as friends, and I thought, it's really nice to be able to share that with people. I'd love to distribute a Chaitanya Charitamrita set. I couldn't really think of anyone at the time. It was a very quick thought process. And I was thinking how, if we're grateful for something, it's very easy for us to share that, because it's an authentic thing. It's not like, oh, I have to do something, I'll do it. But we have this, what Vaisheshakhi calls the overflow principle. So when we're filled up with Krishna consciousness, it just overflows naturally, and people can taste that. It's not an artificial thing. So I had this very thick thought process. And then I went to work in the morning, and I just quickly checked my phone, and there was a text on there from somebody in the South Island that said, "Do you have any Chaitanya Charitamrita sets? I would love to buy one." And I was like, wow, yeah, sure. And I was thinking, wow, Krishna just reciprocates so quickly. And actually, this person that texted that, that's another story. It was coming close to the end of the Bhadra Pranim campaign, and I'd been distributing quite a few books at the temple, Bhagavatam set, and I had this desire to also go on the street, set up a book table outside an Indian grocery store and try and distribute there. So I had this desire. It was I can't remember, maybe it was Friday. I didn't have to work, so I thought, right, I'll do that. Drop daughter at school, go. Then on Thursday evening, my daughter started to get sick, and my husband was sick. So I was like, well, they could both just stay home together. They're both sick. And then I checked myself and thought, that's not a very good attitude. I should stay home and take care of them, cook soup, whatever. Krishna can do whatever he wants. So I was like, right, okay. Shelve that idea of just going solo. And stay home, take care of my family, which is what I should do. And so staying home, and it was really nice. I got to spend time with them and serve them nicely. And then I had a Bhagavatam set on Trevi, actually. And then I just quickly checked it, and there was a message on there saying, can I buy a Bhagavatam set? This is my number, please connect with me. And so I connected with this person called Matt from the South Island. And he bought a Bhagavatam set. He said, there's this thing coming called Bhadra Pranim. I don't know if you've heard of it. Yeah, I've heard of it. And there's this thing called Bhadra Pranim, and I have a Bhagavatam set myself, and it's really amazing. It's changed my life. I want to give one to a friend. If you've been listening to this podcast called Wisdom of the Sages, it is the very amazing podcast. So they were encouraging people to gift a friend to a set. So he said, this changed my life, and I want to give it to someone else. So I was thinking, wow, how, just we have this desire to share, and Krishna can arrange everything. We don't have to sacrifice the 6 family members, or we just have to have this desire, and kindle that and pray to be used as an instrument. Yeah, so that was coming from my, how did I come to that? Yeah, from being, yeah, instead of being envious, being grateful for what we have. Yeah, and also in the Chaitanya we see really amazing examples of those who are grateful and those who are not so grateful. I think about Kolavajra Shida. He was very simple, he just had his little mud hut. But he was very peaceful and happy. He wasn't greedy, he was just satisfied with what he had. This is a symptom of a devotee, is that he's peaceful and satisfied. As opposed to, you know, the Ramchandra Puri. The Ramchandra Puri, he was looking for ways to trip up devotees and then find fault with them. So this is the complete opposite of what we want to do. If we have this envious mentality, we want to glorify devotees. We want to serve those devotees. And we also want to look at what we have and be grateful for what we have. Because when you see Ramchandra Puri, this is the problem with envy. With envy, if we're envious of someone else, we try to take them down to make ourselves feel better. But often people on the outside can see exactly what we're doing, and it doesn't look pretty, and it doesn't make them think, oh yeah, that person is really great. It makes them, people can see and sense envy. And unfortunately, especially with social media and things these days, people are just constantly fighting and trying to bring people down. So this is the complete opposite of what we have, what we want to do in devotional service, because it's the destroyer of our devotional life, actually. And when we think of, I'm thinking about Vyasa Puja Day, so on Srila Prabhupada's Vyasa Puja, it's like one of the sweetest days of the year, because everybody is just glorifying Srila Prabhupada, glorifying Krishna's devotee. And when we glorify others, then it creates a beautiful atmosphere. So we can think about Vyasa Puja Day, and how, yeah, everything that we're grateful to Srila Prabhupada for, and then it creates a very sweet atmosphere. So if we ever see the monster of envy in the heart, then we just have to remind ourselves to be grateful for what we have. Yeah, so those are my reflections on the verse today, about how the Kshatriyas, they don't flee from a battle, and how, yeah, this envy can be counteracted by gratitude. If anyone has any questions or comments, we have a few minutes. Yeah. How we can Anybody have any ideas? The practice.
Just praise them. Even if you're not actually doing it, keep doing it. You have to do opposite of what you think. So that you start thinking what you
think. And yeah, being grateful has a huge knock-on effect, you know, for ourselves and those around us. Because yeah, if we're grateful, you know, your husband may take care of the kids, and if you go home and you're really grateful for that, then he's he's pleased, he feels yeah, appreciated, validated, and he's happy. Even he did a sacrifice, and he also has that as well. But if you just go home and just chuck your bags down, oh, I've got so much more to do, without being grateful for what he did, then you know he'll feel a bit deflated. So then, if he's happy, and then he's happy, then you're happy, and you know it knocks on. But yeah, just this one switch in the mentality of I deserve this. You know, I deserve that he, you know, his kids as well. He should look after them. It's a bit that I'm really grateful you've worked all week and you gave me the chance to have some space and go to the temple. So it's yeah, just a change in mentality. Instead of that, I deserve this. It's you know, thank you for what I have. So then if we keep... Oh, thank you. Oh, you I forgot. Oh, beautiful. Thank you. Yeah. Then it will be because we're supposed to be servants. Like I was reading in Prabhupada Limrita the other day that Prabhupada said a lot of these troubles we're having are forgetting our position as a servant. We're supposed to have that servant mentality and try and serve each other rather than this expectation that people should serve me, or I should have so much, or I should have the best position, or I should, you know, it's not supposed to be the I mentality, it's supposed to be the servant mentality. The constitutional position. And I grow much, he's constantly talking about gratitude, and when we see someone that's helped us in our devotional life, then we should be grateful, we should thank them, because it's not an easy thing to help people in Krishna consciousness. And yeah, if we're grateful for what people do, then it encourages them in their service. So, you know, the cooks, we thank them for cooking, servers, we thank them for serving, we're grateful for them, and then, you know, they feel encouraged to carry on that service. Yeah, so gratitude is a very powerful thing. Thank you very much. Bhagavatam ki jai.